Let's stick to some other news. I want to go back to Mike because we talked a little bit pregame here about the fight gloves. The fight gloves are back, but not yet because they don't have enough of them apparently. So I want you to clear that up for the audience since you were there. You overheard all this. We will see them back, but I guess slowly but surely. And the complaints, fingers. Tell us about all this with the UFC gloves. Apparently, the experiment is over with the new ones.
Yeah, pretty much over. I do think they went into this with good intentions, right? They wanted to do something to make it better for the fighters, to reduce eye pokes, to make it more comfortable, all that stuff. And Dana White admitted pretty much at the post-fight the other night that it was a failure. The fighter reviews were not good. There is a whole set of data to look at about like less knockouts. I think it was like 10% less in these months since they went in. I sent some of that data that I'd collected to the UFC at their request. I don't know how much that actually played a part in this. I don't think really at all. I think it was more the fighter feedback. And you hear, like you saw when Ariel Helwani first reported, I think on Thursday or Friday, whenever it was, that this change was happening. And then we confirmed it and we put out our social media graphics and stuff. Go look on Instagram in the comments section of our outlet, Ariel, anyone else. And there's at least like 10, 15 fighters in every comment section being like, hell yeah, like new gloves suck, this, that, or the other thing. So there's definitely like a yield of support from the athletes to make that change. And I think the UFC, credit to them, admits when they're wrong, admits like we can make a reversion. This isn't something they're glued into. It's the same manufacturer who produced the previous gloves. The issue is right now, from what Dana said, they don't have enough of the old gloves to fill out all the upcoming cards. So they're going to use old gloves on UFC 310, December 7th, the final pay-per-view. And then the rest of the year, the fight night cards, the ESPN cards will be the new gloves. And I think that's basically just going to be the case until they can get enough manufactured to have everything be back. So the photos in 10 years time of fighters wearing gold gloves in championship fights in that brief window will be like a nostalgia trip and just a weird kind of moment being like, oh, those gold gloves, but that is not going to be commonplace going forward from the appearance of it.
Oh, you could still spray them gold, right? Just use the old gloves.
Yeah,
right?
It doesn't seem. I think they were asked directly if there'll be gold gloves, and Dana was like, "No." So I think it's going to be the traditional black for everything.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Speaking of UFC 310, it's been reshuffled. It's no longer Belal Muhammad versus Shavkat Rakhmonov for the undisputed welterweight title. Muhammad is hurt, but they will keep Rakhmonov on the card, not in an interim capacity. He will be facing Ian Garry. They will go 5 rounds. And this is the co-main event now of UFC 310. Elevated to the main event is Alexander Pantoja versus Kai Asakura, coming in from Rizin in a fighting federation in Japan. Goes, what are your thoughts on this reshuffle? Do you like them keeping Rakhmonov and adding Garry? I only ask that because it doesn't seem like Muhammad's going to be out that long, and a title shot's a title shot. You got to, in a way, praise Rakhmonov for stepping up like that, but could he be blowing it too?
Possibly. I think the real winner is Belal Muhammad because maybe one of these guys gets knocked off, right? It's one less guy he has to face. But the fight itself, it not being interim, I get it. I think that's a good move by the UFC. I think that's something that they need to do going forward a little bit more often because Belal wants to be active and he's going to be ready. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. I still feel like Shavkat is in the lead, in my opinion. I still want to see more from Ian Garry at high levels, but it's going to be fun.
Mm-hmm. Danny, did you agree with the way they reshuffled it? Should Rakhmonov have held off for his title shot? Sometimes the UFC doesn't like that either, so I could see him being coerced into taking this.
I think it worked out perfectly. I think if I would have been in charge of the UFC, I would have done exactly those moves. In fact, I suggested it on the last or 2 episodes ago, whenever we found out about Belal's injury, that they should pull one of, whether it was Buckley or Ian Garry, they should pull one of those and put him against Shavkat. So yeah, I absolutely love the fight, undefeated versus undefeated. And yeah, I think it makes all the sense in the world to book those 2 guys for a proper title eliminator. And I hope they at least put that label on, because I think that's important to have. And I also love the fact that Colby Covington, who I often not give a lot of credit to, is taking on a young guy in Joaquim Buckley, fresh, like a fresh face in the division. He was calling out Stephen Wonderboy Thompson before. I hated that call out. So I'm glad that we're getting a proper also main event there for Joaquim Buckley, who's deserving of a big name.
Exactly. So Garry's out of the Buckley fight on December 14th, 1 week later in Tampa Bay after the pay-per-view here in Las Vegas, and stepping in will be Colby Covington against Joaquim Buckley. Mike, you like that reshuffle there in Tampa?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, that was like my kind of surprise of the weekend in terms of all the news that Colby Covington took this fight. There's been a lot of criticism from a lot of people about him, rightfully so, if you look at kind of the resume in recent years, but this has to shut all the people up. He's fighting someone relevant, younger, all that stuff on a nice streak. So credit to Colby, and we'll see what he can do. If he wins this, he's kind of back in a conversation. And if he loses, who knows where that sends him. But I appreciate him taking the risk. This is the right thing to do with his career, and we'll see what happens. And then, yeah, for 310, definitely the right call with this fight. Simon Simano, our editor on Overreaction Time, was kind of really campaigning for this Shavkat versus Garry fight before anything was announced. And here we go. We got it. As to Danny's point, Dana did say that this is a number one contender fight. He laid it out perfect. I thought promoted it great. 33-0 combined. Neither of these guys have had a 5-round fight before. They're going to get that experience before going into a championship bout. It all makes sense to me. So really think they did a good job executing all this. The welterweight division has been a crapshoot, to say the least, over the last 5 years or so, getting some of these fights made. So big ups to Dana and Sean Shelby and Hunter Campbell for kind of finally creating what should be some real movement in the weight class. And curious now to see where Kamaru Usman falls and everything.
Good stuff, guys.